Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. We are from group 4 and we will discuss about style, context and register. Okay, here table of contents. There are 5 contents that we will discuss. The first one is about age of addressee, second one background of addressee, third one is accommodation theory, the fourth, speech divergence. I'm sorry, it's speech, not spec. The last one is about stylization. Okay, now look at the example one. Three different requests for information. One from a friend. Where were you last night? I rang to see if you wanted to come to the movies. Two. Incurred from a lawyer. Could you tell the court where you were on the night of Friday, the 17th of March? 3. From a teacher to his pupil in school on the day after Halloween. I know some of you went trick or treating last night, and so I thought we might talk a bit today about how you got on. Did you go out last night, Jimmy? Okay, for this example, we know that language varies according to its uses as well as its users, according to where it is used and to whom, as well as according to who is using it. The addresses and the context affect our choice of code or variety, whether language, dialect, or style. The difference between the three trends in example 1 are stylistic differences, and it is style which is the focus of this chapter. Okay, age of addressee. Now, example 3, Mrs. N. Oh, he's all walking already. Mother. Oh yes, he's such a clever little fellow, aren't you? Mrs. N. Hello, Chugibu. I'm sorry, I don't really get it how to speak, how to read well, or how to read right about that, but you can see for this example comes and however from a Monty Python sketch where their utterances are addressed to the speaker's adult son, who responds with, "Yes, of course I can talk. I'm Minister for Overseas Development." The humor depends on the audience's perception of the inappropriateness of addressing a statusful adult in this way. So, people generally talk different to children and to adults, though some adjust their speech style or accommodate more than others. The last one is example 4. 1. Dear Paul, thanks for your last letter and the subsequent postcard from exotic resort. We were all green with envy over your trip to Rio with all expenses paid. How do you get to be so lucky? Thanks also for the great t-shirt you sent for Rob's birthday. He has vowed to write to you in order to express his gratitude personally. But don't hold your breath. He is particularly embroiled in some new complex computer game at present which is absorbing every spare moment. 2. Dear Michael, thank you very much for the letter you sent me. It was beautifully written and I enjoy reading it. I like the postcard you sent me from your holidays too. What a lovely time you had swimming and surfing. I wish I was there too. Robbie liked the t-shirt you chose for him very much. He has been wearing it a lot. He has promised to write to you soon to say thank you, but he is very busy playing with his computer at the moment. So you may have to wait a little while for his letter. I hope mine will do instead for now. Look at this example. The vocabulary in the two letters is different too. In the first letter, low frequency words such as subsequent, exotic, resort, vote, gratitude, embroiled, and absorbing suggest the addressee is not a 6-year-old. In the second letter, simple and more common words are used, such as like, play, and to. With phrases like a load and little while, the different addresses clearly influence the language used, even though the message in each letter is very similar. So, the conclusion is language varies according to its uses as well as its user. The addresses and the context affect our choice of code variety, whether language, dialect, or style. If this we're talking to kids, we have to choose the best vocabulary, the right vocabulary to make their understand well, to make their understand easy. But if it is we talk to our parents or teacher, adult, we have to more polite and grammatically well, something like that. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you very much, and I'm so sorry if I have mistake.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mirza Pagarayu. In here, I want to continue Hafid explanation. It's about social background of addressing. Okay, in here, there is a simplification of consonant cluster. In here, I have the word. Uh, the word is the word are last become less, and then the second word is next become next, and then in here is different pronunciation in T between vowels, and then in here the word is meeting become T voiced, so it sounds like D meeting. Okay, next is okay article the and the horrifics Mr. and Mrs. The definite article the before the title Prime Minister and Premier, Mr. and Mrs. before Margaret Thatcher and Bob Hawke become disappear. Okay, next. Okay, social background of addressee count D. Okay, in the first is this is support for the importance design, the influence of the addressee audience on a speaker style, and then the next is the most convincing even evidence comes from the behavior of the some news reader on different radio stations, and the next is in this situation a news reader product constituently different styles for audience, and the next is the news is the same and the context is identical except for one factor, the addressee. And then the next is okay job often times requires speakers to accommodate our clients. It is for example in example 7 there is a shift of pronouncing the consonant D according to customer's social background. In here, the word is better and matter. Okay, next is people's speech change in response to the interviewer's speech. For example, future of AAVE in speech.
Next part is accommodation theory. Speech convergence. Each person's speech converges toward the speech of the person they are talking to. This process is called speech accommodation. Converging toward the speech of another person is usually considered a polite speech strategy. It implies that the address's speech is acceptable and worth imitating. Using the same pronunciation and the same sort of vocabulary, for instance, is a way of signaling that you are on the same wavelength. How do speakers accommodate? In multilingual countries such as Singapore, India, or Democratic Republic of the Congo ZAIRE, with many varieties to choose from, people may accommodate to others by selecting the code or variety that is most comfortable to their addresses. In the marketplace, people sometimes accommodate to the language of the person selling goods in order to secure goodwill and hopefully a good bargain. Conversely, in a bilingual city like Montreal, French Canadians in cafes and stores may use English to customers that they identify as English speakers in order to improve their chance of a good sale.
Okay, I will continue Ashila's explanation. It is about speech divergence. Deliberately choosing a language not used by one's addressee is the clearest example of speech divergence. Speech divergence happens when people deliberately choose not to mirror each other's speaking styles. When the Arab nations issued an oil communique to the world not in English but in Arabic, they were making a clear political statement. They no longer wished to be seen as accommodating to be the Western English-speaking powers. Similarly, minority ethnic groups who want to maintain and display their cultural distinctiveness will often use their own linguistic variety, even and sometimes especially in interaction with majority group members. Accent divergence also occurs. In New Zealand, working class men often respond to the university educated students who join them for the summer on the docks, in factories, or in the sharing seats by increasing their swearing and using a higher frequency of vernacular forms. And that is often precisely the point of divergent pronunciations. They made the signals the speakers wish to distinguish themselves from their addresses. Speech divergence does not always indicate a speaker's negative attitudes towards the addresses. Where the divergent forms are admired, divergence can be used to benefit the diverger. As a small differences such as a slight foreign accent, provided it is one which is viewed favorably, can be appealing. A foreigner can also elicit help by using an accent or vocabulary which signals in the inadequate control of the language. If a foreign visitor sounds too much like a native speaker, it may work to their disadvantage and even arouse suspicions. An English Canadian who was fluently bilingual in French and English aroused considerable hostility when a French-speaking group he was talking with realized he could speak perfect English too. He reported that they treat him as if he was a spy. Perfect convergence has its cost. Speakers may also deliberately diverge both from their own usual speech style and that of their addresses towards the style of a third party for special effect. This has been labeled referee design. The third party is referred to, although they are not present. We could describe them as a reference group. When you imitate your teacher to amuse your friends, or when you adopt a precise accent to impress your boss, you are engaging in referee design. In New Zealand, a Scottish or North of England accent is sometimes used to exploit the stereotype of the honest and straightforward bloke whose word can be trusted. New Zealand and Australian singers similarly draw on referee design when they adopt features of overseas singer style such as US post vocalic or cockney glottal stops, like metaphorical chord switching, with which it has much in common. A referee design allows the speakers to exploit the symbolic function of language and allude it in an economical way to more than one set of values. More recently, this kind of multi-voice discourse has been described as stylization. Okay, I think that's all from me. The next explanation will be explained by Rizky Nopansyah.
Okay, I will continue the presenter stylization. When someone goes beyond their usual or normal way of speaking and behaving and engages in a high or strong performance of some sort. The term stylization is useful. The most obvious examples of stylization are found in the speech of comedians and singers who perform to entertain or amuse you. When the British comedian Catherine Tate performs an antagonistic teenage girl using the phrase "Am I vibrate?" and I not vibrate. This is stylization. When a New Zealand singer uses a as American accent, we can say she is styling her performance, perhaps to suggest she is part of a wider international culture. Okay, next, accommodation problems. In general, then reaction to speak convergence and divergence depend on the reason people attribute for the convergence or divergence. If divergence is perceived as unavoidable, for instance, then the reaction will be more tolerant than when it is considered deliberate. Deliberate divergence will be heard as uncooperative or antagonistic. Okay, thank you. I think just it from me.